we got today is a leaky shutoff valve, and this had been dribbling just a little bit for the longest time, but it never caused no problem. But then one day I came out and there was about a puddle about that big around, a feel on the floor, and it smelled like gasoline in the garage, and you know that ain't good. So I went and ordered a new one. This one basically has 2 inlets and 1 outlet. And if you go on Amazon and try to find one, it may be kind of hard. You can find them. They're on eBay too. But I don't find these being very reliable. At least the one that got sold here on this X Pro. And I wanted to go a different route and test out something else. So I got this right here. It's 2 in, 1 out, and each one has a shutoff. And these are rated for fuel. And from what I can see, they look pretty heavy duty. There's no threads right here. This is all one piece from beginning to end. And I like that because that means there's nowhere in here that it can seep out of a crack or anything. I'll put the link in the description below. Got this on Amazon. $14 shipped with tax. I think $14 is a good investment, even though you do see some of these are about $6. And I kind of didn't want to go too cheap, even though $14 is still kind of cheap. And you know, this right here really doesn't look like something you put on a bike. It looks like something you put on an RV or a small pump system. It's like I said, it's rated for fuel, but it will be tucked away up in here, so it won't be looking like, you know, I jalapeed this thing together with parts that belong on an RV. But they are rated for fuel. So they have ball valves in here, and you go like that and they're both shut off. You go like that and they're both on. These tanks here, they have an outlet here on this side and on this side. That's why you need 2 that connect. It's kind of like a Y fitting, and they got them in 1/4 inch, 3/8, all that. This is 1/4 inch. So I'm going to disconnect this shut-off valve from the bike, replace it with this part right here, and I think we will see a lot more successful days of not dripping fuel. First of all, if you're working with this model or something like this model, this is a 2022 XB38. That's what's stamped on the neck of the VIN number plate here. This is an X Pro 128cc semi-automatic transmission. They don't sell this model anymore. If you do want to get a model like this, you can, but it won't come with the headlight, and it won't come with the oversized wheels, and it probably won't come with electric start either. So the first bolt I see is right in here. It's an Allen key bolt, but I can't really access it because it's a little bit at an angle. So there's this bracket it's connected to, and it seems to be an 8mm. So we're going to loosen that so I can bring the bracket down. And we're back. The back nut's a 10, the bolt's a 8, but it's much easier to turn the bolt. So let's go ahead and do that now. And it looks like they put 2 bolts in there. Let's go ahead and fully remove that 1 bolt. And this one will just loosen, that way we can bring the bracket down. Now we're able to move that like so. Now we can find out what size Allen key will fit in there. All right, we're working with a 5mm Allen key. There we go. Broke loose, didn't take much. The point of all this is to get the Allen key, or the not the Allen key, but the field cutoff completely separated without messing with the hoses. Because once you disconnect the hoses, you'll have fuel residue dripping all over the floor and maybe even your hands, and that ain't good. Now I did drain this fuel tank out a couple days ago when I ordered the part, but you're always going to have some fuel residue left over in there. And there's the 5mm Allen bolt that holds the fuel cutoff on there. Now we're able to, so there's that bracket. Now we're able to move the fuel cutoff switch around and access the lines a little better. And if you can see here, I did my own personal kind of hose crimp. This is one-eared permanent crimp. I like those a lot better. You can always choose, you know, your standard kind like that, but you can't ever get these as tight as you can these right here. And that's one way I knew that it wasn't leaking through the fuel line, because these suckers are tight. Now up here on the tank, I don't use these one-ear crimps. I use, oh, they look like this right here, like a pressure tension crimp or tension clamp, something like that. Simply because the nipples coming out of the bottom of this tank here, you got one on there and one on this side. They're made of plastic, and if you put these hard ones on there and try to take them off one day, you might break the plastic. So they do take a little bit of strength and maneuvering to get them on there and to take them off. And man, if you break that plastic nipple up there, you could be in trouble. You might have to buy a whole new tank. All right, the next step is, since we got the fuel already drained out, we do have a little bit of residue. You can see in these clear hoses that they're full of fuel, but it kind of stops up here by the filter. Didn't want to go anymore. That's because of the way it was angled. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect our fuel line from our carburetor. And get you a bottle. Put it in there. Make sure your fuel line's open and tilt that baby down. Get every little drip out of there, because there's one thing I can't stand is getting fuel on my hands. I just do not like that. I don't like the feel, I don't like the smell, and I don't like the effects of it in the long run either. It doesn't seem like much is in those lines, but that's what you're left with right there. Put that aside and save it for later. So now we're clean of fuel. Next thing we have to do is disconnect this clamp, and that clamp. And there ain't no other way I can tell you how to do it than get a pair of dikes and just go to town with it. Now I may see if I have doing some calculating here. It may be better for me just to cut them, to be honest with you. I do have some extra hose, extra fuel line for reserve just in case, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure I can get away with cutting them. It should probably be best anyways, because the ends, they kind of get like that all gnarled up, you know, and after taking it off and putting it on so many times, you know. There's one line. There's the other. There's my old fuel filter. You can see the ends got bent. Now, if any of y'all do this kind of DIY work on your own, eventually you'll have a toolbox full of extra filters and parts and stuff like that, and come to find out I have quite a few, so I'm going to go ahead and use the one I got left over in my toolbox. I have a couple other ones. They're just sitting around, and go ahead and just change it out and put a new one. But by the way, as we're in there looking, you can see two little particles of trash right there. Nothing on the magnet. See another particle of trash there and there. Remember, you always want to put these in the direction that they're meant to be, that the flow is meant to go. Which on this one, the flow is meant to go this way. Some may be different, but most of them that I've seen is this little cap that's on top. That one usually goes to the carburetor. This one, this side usually goes to the tank. Because remember, you want to hit that magnet first. That's a magnet in there. You want your fuel to hit that first. So any metal particles stick to that, then the rest of the filtration will go on, take place right here, and come out clean to your carburetor. So let me go get another carburetor filter. Alright, so we got another carburetor filter here. Brand new one. And what you want to do when you get these is take a look at the inlet and outlet, or the outlet and the inlet here. Take a look at the ends. You'll see kind of an unfinished pieces of plastic that are stuck on there, and that could cause problems down the road. So you might want to take your pair of dikes here and just kind of snip them off. Make sure it's not going to be a problem. It's kind of like those little hairs you see on the side of a brand new tire, you know. Next thing you can do, you don't have to do, but I like to do, is put my mouth on the end, make sure it's clean, and blow. It should exhibit some resistance, but you should be able to get air through it. That's a good filter. It's not clogged. It ain't got no pieces of particles stuck on the inside of it. Looks like it's ready to go. I mean, these are Chinese filters. They're not, you know, the best, but they work. So, and there's your little arrow. That's the fuel flow right there. So the next thing I want to do, and the next thing you should probably do, is take your lines, and if they're not cut straight, go ahead and cut them straight now. You don't want any angles on your hose. That one was a little crooked, but the other one's nice and straight. And go ahead and dry fit your lines without putting any clamps on there. Just to see what it's gonna be looking like. So I'm happy with that. There's no extreme bend in the line. It's going to be sitting right about there. Then I'm going to have the fuel line come out and go to the fuel tank. I wish this kind of made a different angle, but it is what it is. And one thing I like about this, other than you being able to cut off both fuel lines, which go to the same tank, it's kind of pointless, right? But you have to, and you can cut them both off, is that it's barbed and it extends out a good ways, versus this one only has 2 barbs. This one has 1, 2, 3 barbs. A little bit more purchase on this one. I like that. They should have made this one a little stronger too. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more. That's all it should be. And we'll take this apart at the end of the video and see what failed on the inside. Alright, so going back to our new cutoff valve, we did a test fit right here. Looks like it's going to be sitting right about there on the bike. Now there's no mounting options for this. You're going to have to make your own. We do have a bracket hanger here, and we can probably affix something right in there, or we can just let it hang the way it is. Let's see, because remember, we got to get up in there and be able to turn off and on without. Now they did supply this 3-way valve with 3 hose clamps. I'm going to go ahead and use these. I have more faith in these longer barbed valves, and the fact that the hose seems to fit on there fairly snug, and that's a good thing. Not so hard that you can't squeeze it on. See, I just put it on right there. But man, I feel like a regular screw style clamp is going to get the job done on that. So this is why they say hindsight's 20/20. Now that I got it together, I'm looking, I'm thinking, this needs to be tucked away up close here, right? Away from the hot engine. But I can't get to the valves. So I'm going to take this off and flip it around. That way my valve switches will be down here. I just reach under the left hand and turn one and turn the other. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Alright, there you go. Didn't take but a minute. Now, if you bolt it to that bracket right there, nice and tight. Not really bolted, but maybe I'm thinking like a big zip tie or a piece of baling wire, something of that sort. Now with this baling wire, don't twist it like crazy because it will snap once you put some tension on it. But if you don't, it'll hold, and it'll hold really good. Like that right there. Look at it. That's nice. You want to take the existing and wrap it around. It's up there out of the way. Can't catch your finger on it. It won't catch the line. And if you ever need to take it off, just take some dikes and snip, and it comes right off. It's like a zip tie. Now it's secure. This line is good. This line's good. That's how we're looking. Let's see if we can get a look at that. So I kind of weaved it inside this other line to keep it on that side of the bike. This is kind of exposed. I noticed that. I'm thinking about taking some of that, it's kind of like that stuff you use for covering wire. I can't think of the word right now, but it's black and it has a slit down the middle. I'm thinking about just sliding that over that to protect it. It's pretty tough hose I got there from Tractor Supply. No reason to believe this isn't going to work, but let's go ahead and put one on there, or put it on there without using the clamp. Put some gas in it and see how it flows through. Alright, we have successfully put the line on, but it's leaking out of this bottom fitting, the bottom of the bowl. That tells me there's something now with the carburetor. I'm going to run it a little bit and see if it goes away. Sometimes that works. Might be something in there jammed or whatever. The float bowl maybe jammed because it's leaning sideways, you know. When you put the kickstand on, it kind of leans sideways. I did fix the problem though, and the problem was it was dribbling out this line. See, I made a little bit of a spill here, and when I would go to turn off the fuel shutoff valve, it didn't solve the problem. That should always solve the problem no matter what. That's your last line of defense, cutting off fuel. And it didn't work, it still dribbled. Well, now I saw it leaking. I went ahead and cut off the two valves, and well, now it stopped. So the valves work like they're supposed to. I'm going to run the bike a little bit and open the valves up, shake the bike around, maybe ride it up and down the block and see if that goes away. It's probably the float is stuck. That's usually the reason, because that's why it leaks out the bottom of the bowl. If the fuel level gets too high, there's a tube inside there that it will reach. It will hit that tube and then drain all the way down. And the reason why it's getting that high is because the float isn't going up. So it's probably just a little gummed up, probably, that's all. so it looks like I fixed the problem. The float was just stuck from old fuel sitting in there. Old fuel with ethanol, it gets gummy. That's what it does. But now that my fuel cutoff is working, I can cut that off and let it run to a dies, and I know this bowl would be empty, therefore never causing me that problem ever again of the float being stuck. As you can see, it's not draining out any fuel. It hasn't drained any out, and problem solved. I think the only other thing I'm going to do now is adjust these LED headlights, as they do seem like they're pointing down. It's just a little too low. I'm going to tilt them up just a little bit. Just a little bit. And that'll be it for the video. Hey, y'all have a good one. If y'all like this video, like and subscribe. And I got more dirt bike stuff coming this way. More Honda Civic stuff. I just make videos of stuff that I got working on. I got this Toyota FJ that I've had for a couple years now. It's got 33s with a 3-inch lift and some other goodies that they're on there. And I think once it cools down, I'm going to do a full review of the truck and the conversion trailer, 6x10 trailer that I've turned into an RV. That'll be a nice video, but it's got to get cool for that. But hey, thanks for hanging around. If y'all hung out this long, and appreciate y'all, and thanks for watching my videos. If you're wondering, I did take the old fuel cutoff apart, and what you have inside is a rubber washer, which is fine, but you have these little bitty holes in there. That would be your inlet hole, and you have another hole right there. I guess that's where the valve nut is in there. It must be the nut that's in there that just failed. The one that I installed, they have nylon nuts, so it won't be anytime soon. So just if you're curious and you want to know, that's what she looks like.